The next item is a public hearing for 1 to 15 Arlington Street, amended site plan and special permit, planning board case 2016-01. In accordance with the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 11, the Quincy Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, January 11, 2017, on or after 7 p.m. in the first floor conference room, Quincy City Hall, 1305 Hancock Street, on the application of CPI Management, LLC, care of Rob Simmons, 11 Beacon Street, Suite 1120, Boston, Mass. 02108, for a site plan review under Quincy Zoning Ordinance Title 17, Section 9.5.1, site plan review, and special permit under Section 5.2.6, loading facilities. The applicant proposes an amendment to the original decision, which was approved with conditions by the Planning Board on May 11, 2016. The proposed amended hotel project has been revised from a 6-story building with 140 rooms to a 5-story building with 180 rooms and a conference room. The applicant also proposes amendments to the parking layout, which was revised from 102 on-site parking spaces to 91 on-site parking spaces, landscaping, drainage, and other site modifications. The property contains 58,620 more or less square feet of land and is located at 1 to 15 Arlington Street and 22 to 30 Fayette Street. The subject property is located within an Industrial B zoning district and is shown in Assessors Plan 6106, Parcel 2-114, 7-112, and 8-110. Mr. Hines.
Mr. Chairman, through you members of the board, good evening. My name is Bob Hines, and I'm representative for the company before you today. We were here before, if you recall, last year, when it's the old working site. And at that time, this board, after a number of meetings, approved 140 rooms for this hotel. All that was going to be a 6-story building. And with that 6-story, with 140 rooms, it was also going to have kitchenettes in every single room. And we had indicated that we were going to, at one point, expand to the rest of the lot. Prior to breaking ground, prior to passing, what they've indicated they wanted to do when we presented the board, everything we want to do is actually reduce the height of the building from the 6 stories to the 5 stories. And what they're going to do is add, actually, they're going to add, from 140 rooms, you're going to add another 40 rooms. So it's going to be 180 rooms. Now, you can actually do that. Here's how they're doing it. You're saying, where do you get the space? What the changes are. What they plan on doing is this. The open area of the first floor, which is approximately 1,795 square feet, will now be enclosed. That's where cars used to go. And they also plan on going from the 2nd to the 5th floor. They plan on going down 6,600 feet down Arlington Street. So what's actually happening is they're lowering it and spreading it out. So as far as the parking ratio, as this board knows, the parking ratio that's allowed is 0.05 per unit. Or 0.05 is an awfully small parking spot. It's a matchbox. But anyways, it's 0.5. And what we have right now is we're actually at that limit. Now, I did meet with the planning department, and one of their concerns, and rightfully so, was are these spots according to what's outlined, what's required in the city of Quincy? And they are, in fact. And I spoke to them yesterday, and they are, in fact, the size as allowed by the city of Quincy, as required by the city of Quincy. So they still, with regards to parking, they still meet what's required for that use, which is 0.5 per unit. So they actually meet everything. The change is really a change where we're going from 140 to 180. We're lowering the building. We're going down Arlington Street, which is the main street down there. As far as the engineering process is concerned, there is no major engineering issue here. They're just going to go forward as they were before. They are going to be moving the trash bin from where it was to more to what Arlington Street for easier access. Now, they've already gone for the Conservation Commission for the prior hearing. What they've done here is actually went to Jay Duca. Jay Duca looked at it, treated it as a minor modification, and just renewed the Conservation Commission permit just on his own, thinking it's okay. So they don't have to go to Concom anymore. We're here now for those changes. We feel that though they are, well, what they consider minor, I can see the board may consider is more than a minor change, but it's making better use of the property. It's bringing the height level down, it's expanding it down the road, but in fact, it's not impacting anything. And if you look at the traffic issue, the traffic, it's proposed that the traffic would be, I think, 23 cars at a day change, which is it's a very minor change. It was a traffic study done on that, we have the traffic engineer here. So the change in regards to traffic is very minor also. But one of the things we brought here, and the zoning board was out on too, is the kitchenettes. There was some strong concerns about the kitchenettes, because every single 140 rooms had all kitchenettes. They reduced that number now. Out of 180, only 9 are gonna have kitchenettes. They think it's more gonna be of a, they know it's gonna be a lot of business people there, that's why the kitchenettes are there. But after doing studies, they realized they should have less kitchenettes and more just for work people, coming and going for shorter terms. That's what we have, and that's the building right there, as you can see. Prior that, there was a floor up there, there isn't now, it's been lowered. I'm not sure if you have the past application, which showed the actual 6 stories, but this one is gonna be just 5. We'll ask the board to consider it. I know that there are, that we've gone through this whole process before. We feel at this point that it's something that I think it's advantageous. I knew that was the board, we had indicated to the board we were going to spread down the road, we were going to make it residential. After studies, they thought it was better to go this direction. So we're asking the board to take a look at this and come up with an approval.
Okay.
And I do have, again, the traffic engineer, and I have the manager.
What is the decrease in the overall height of the structure now?
What's the question?
That's the height.
Yeah, how much did it decrease?
1 story, so what's the top story decrease?
Yeah.
It's about 12 feet, about 13 feet. I think we have on the elevation, the updated height.
So you didn't add any height to
It's
the...
64 feet to the roof.
No, we didn't need any height to the building.
No, everything came down, an entire story.
I understand that piece, but you didn't add height to the other stories. You're just literally chopping off 1 story.
Exactly.
And what was the parking prior to this? Was it 90?
No.
We had about 102 parking spaces.
102?
Yeah, and that was always because it was excess. We always talked about phasing the project, doing phase 1 then phase 2. You know, as early as this year, now that we're here, we decided to go forward with phase 2, which is the additional room. So we always had excess parking on the site.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just had a couple questions. When this was before the board last, I think that we were all very favorable to this, you know, new development on the West Swanham corridor, and you know, I'm still very much in favor of this site being developed. Are we any closer to understanding what flag is going to fly at this property? What kind of hotel it's going to be? I remember last time it was either a Marriott or a Hilton. I want to make sure we haven't deviated from that.
No, we've actually been talking with the International Hotel Group and Marriott. So those are the 2 we've been talking to. And, you know, we had Ian Kane come around to some of the other hotels that we've worked on, and I don't know if any of you guys came as well, but just showed us the different hotels we've done, and he was very happy, very satisfied with the work.
Okay. And the bar that's going to go into the lobby, is that going to be something of a size that would actually entice people to come and stop in and use it, not just like a, you know?
Absolutely. We've actually grown it a little bit. That's where Bob was talking about the floor been growing a little bit. There's more keys, a little more seating area, a little more comfy bar seating area, restaurant seating area. And that's going to be right along here, so it's going to be an inviting, almost a lantern, inviting people in. So yes.
Great. Yeah, I think it's a good improvement.
There's a growth on the bottom floor. They've actually spread out another 1,700 feet, a little over 1,700 feet, to make room for it and make it more inviting for the public.
Great. And one question that may not be for the applicant, but it would just help me to understand. Next door, there's been a property that's been abandoned since, I think, the year before I was born. What
It was only a couple of weeks ago.
is there any hint of what may happen there? And just trying to understand what's next for that area and what's going to be directly adjacent to the site. And for the rest of the board, I'm talking about that big white building that's between this property and Newport. And just didn't know if there was any sense.
Yes, we've been approached by Arista Development. They have proposed a residential at that site verbally. They have not been before us, they have not been in for their pre-planning hearing inside our office. They haven't shown us any plans. The only question they had was parking ratios, whether we would allow them the 0.5 parking ratio, and we have told them thus far, no, that would be the minimum parking ratio that has been discussed is 1 space per, as it is right literally across the street from the T parking lot. So that's been a conversation. I've not seen their plans. I believe that the number that they threw out there was about 100 units for residential, but it's still preliminary. But they have shown interest and have come before us. And they're a known developer, so it's something that we're just, it's still very preliminary with them.
Thank you.
Member Camiso.
Nope.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I continue to be supportive of this project, but just to help me understand the process, and I apologize if I missed it. What has led to this decision to make these changes? Is it a layout issue? Is it a cost issue? Is it a clientele change issue? Is it more rooms? Is that?
So, yeah, it's market response. So we were approved, I think, last last summer, spring, summer?
I think it was in spring.
A while ago. Since then, the seller has been working on, they've had some environmental issues which they're closing out, so they've been working with DEP. That dragged on a little bit through the summer, so we had more time to reflect on the project, more time to look at the market a little more. And we got really excited about just, instead of waiting on phase 2, is moving forward on phase 2. And phase 2 was the additional 40 keys. And so really this is a response to the market. So we're excited. We're taking a floor down in the building because we were able to do it with this space. We think it will look a lot better in the neighborhood. And we're able to really maximize the hotel in this area. So that's the main reason.
Just so the board knows, they haven't closed yet. They closed in April.
April 1, yes.
And that's giving them the time. Work Inc. is trying to work things out prior to close.
Which they have. That's all closed now, but we were scheduled to close it.
Member Glenn.
Thank you. I noticed in your rendering you have some street improvements there. So the traffic lights are all.
So these are all existing, and part of the original approvals, we have a condition to improve the pedestrian signaling, which we will be doing on the corner right here. So these are all existing. We will be doing pedestrian signaling for across Arlington Street, I believe it is. There are pedestrian signaling on the other intersections.
I think it's a great project, and the fact that the city's going to derive hotel revenue is a great thing, and it's certainly going to improve the appearance of that section. And I talked to at least one resident of Fayette Street who likes it. I don't know everybody does, but.
Any other questions from board members? I just have one, and I'm not sure, my memory's fading, but do you know what the FAR is in the industrial district?
No, I don't offhand.
Do we know what the FAR is in this building? And I don't really have a problem with massing in the industrial district, especially for
Now
residential.
I'm looking, I don't have it here, and I apologize.
Sorry, I can't even recall what the requirement is for.
It's
I don't have it.
required 2 and provided 1.5.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It is right.
Okay, hearing another, this is a public hearing. I should preface my remarks by saying that we're still awaiting information back from our sources, so we won't make any decision tonight. But it is a public hearing, so it affords the public an opportunity to, since they've waited this late, to come up and speak. Come on up. Just identify yourself.
Mary Jane McGoley. I live at 115 West Washington Street, the Sagamore condos, and I've owned there since 1984. And when I first moved in, 95 West Quantum and my building were the only game in town in terms of high-density buildings. So now we have across the street 100 West Quantum. Now we've got this, which is 180 units. So I'm a simple person. My father was a plumber. So I'm figuring out, we have 700 to 800 sinks, toilets, and showers that are all gonna be flushing. And how, is this gonna affect the Quincy sewer system, and is it gonna affect pollution? And is, I mean, I'm sure you're thinking of it, it's just that I haven't heard anything like that, in this meeting, and maybe this isn't the right place for that. So that's one of my concerns. And the other concern is that this looks fabulous, and I hope it's a Hilton or a Marriott, and as opposed to another person who was here before was worried about the yuppies, I say, bring them in. Bring in the yuppies, jack up the rents, jack up the taxes, and I'll pay my share, because if you want something good, you have to pay for it. And we're as good as Newton, we should be Newton, and we even have a shoreline. So I think that's what you have to do. You can't skimp on these things. The other thing is, I hear all this stuff about traffic and the cars and whatever. I don't own a car, I take the subway all the time. And what I have noticed about the red line is that a number of years ago, unless you're taking the subway every day like me, what they did was, they got rid of the guy who was in the middle car. There was the conductor, the engineer, then there was the guy in the middle car who really told the conductor that he could continue. Now they only have the one guy that drives the train. So that's why each trip takes forever, because the one guy has to make sure that nobody is trying to get in and out when he's trying to close the doors. So I think if the T was more efficient, if you could somehow get them to be more efficient, and granted it would cost more money, maybe people would take the T more. Maybe they would park their cars, and maybe we wouldn't have a whole lot of traffic. I mean, I don't know what influence you have with the T. And
Everybody wants to do better.
Well, that's about it. Thank you for listening.
The only response I give you, which was my remark, we have not had the review back from the city departments,
Okay.
and even our peer review. So the information as to whether the public utilities are of sufficient size to accommodate the use as something, but I will tell you that under the original proposal, the Public Works Department, and I think even our peer reviewer said that the utilities were of sufficient size to accommodate that use.
Okay, I feel that.
Well, but that will be something that will be gleaned when we meet again.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishes to speak? I'm sorry, Mr. Hunt.
If I could just address when we had the peer review in the past, it was with the fact that we could expand down the other lot, to expand down the lot. That was always been consideration. We always thought that we could go down there later on. So what we're doing now was always the idea that it was going to happen down the road. So, and that's why they would do on that street, Farrington Street, they could do the sewage and stuff.
Okay, anyone else wishing to speak?
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in. Chairman Mead, you sort of tipped off that the review of the revised program has not been completed. We are activating the engineering peer review firm TEC, who did the original review. So they will update their review based on the new plan set. And to Mary Jane, who I think was one of the first ones here this evening, the city graciously hosted Secretary of Transportation Stephanie Pollock over the summer to tour all 4 of the MBTA stations. And we are very encouraged with some recent moves by the state, the MBTA, Governor Baker, to authorize the purchase of additional red line cars, as well as new signaling equipment along the red line, with the hopes of being able to accommodate a greater frequency of subway cars to deal with the peak times. We know the red line is often sardine can leaving North Quincy Station, so that is a big concern. Outside of this project, there is some movement from the state to invest in the infrastructure along the red line, so we're real hopeful for improvements in that area.
Thank you. So I'd entertain a motion to continue this case till which is the March or
February.
Department says that the motion should be to continue it to our February 8th, 2017 meeting. A motion to that effect? Second, discussion, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I ask, when he's gonna be here, before